Hi, welcome to another Yugioh deck profile. So this is going to be for my updated Monarch deck profile. The deck which is either, go big or go home when you get the bricks, but you take your chances with it when giving it a go. And I came sort of in the midsection of my last tournament with it, so yeah, it was fine. And this is the domain variant, so there's no extra deck with it, so it's just the main and the side. So yeah, I'll just go into it like usual. So for the main, Monarchs and Tribute summon monsters, we go for the 3 Ether, just to send your stuff to the graveyard to special summon out one of your other big guys from the deck. And something that I did find out, that the summon from deck effect and the Tribute summon during opponent's turn effect is not a once per turn in any way. So if you have 2 of these in hand and you have enough resources, then you could potentially use 2 of these in the turn and get 2 more, bigger guys out from the deck for your plays. So just something to bear in mind with that. Then we have the 3 Erebus, which is the non-target shuffle back kind of thing. Also something to note that the effects of Ether and Erebus, with their sending from the spells and traps from the deck to the graveyard, they're not a cost. So if you don't get the effects off, then you can't get your Pantheism and Prime to the graveyard for the plays or whatever things you need to get in there for your extra things. But like I said, just turn 1 or turn 2 is good, just getting rid of something potentially as long as it's not negated. And then just a nice recursion with discarding a Monarch spell or trap to recycle it from the graveyard is always decent. Then I've teched in the 1 Thestalos, the Mega Monarch, who, if it's Tribute Summon, you get to look at your opponent's hand, so you get to know what there is, and then just snipe a card and discard it to the graveyard. So this is ideal going first card, but it's, it has its things, it's an easy side out if you're going second or something. Then for the last Monarch we have is the 1 Kuraz. I really debated whether to take him out or not, but I just found him too useful in so many situations. So it's just essentially you can summon him off of Ether, and then he gets his effect anyway, where he gets to destroy up to 2 cards on the field, and if it's your cards, you can draw them. If your opponent's card, they draw equal to the amounts of the ones that they get destroyed. So yeah, just a handy little tech there. And then one of my spicy ones, I had this in the last deck profile, was the 1 Seleglare, Luminous Lunar Dragon, who gets to target and then take control of one of your opponent's monsters till the end phase during the main phase as a quick effect, which is nice. Which can be done as a quick effect during the battle phase as well, but never mind. 1 Majesty's Fiend. I go for 1 just because we're at a point now where there's enough resources where people can special summon stuff in order to beat over this, which is a tad annoying, but never mind. And then 2 copies of Vanity's Fiend. Just when in doubt, go into Vanities. The only thing that this card lacks is the 1000 defense. If it was, it'll be perfect for Monarchs. So just a great floodgate for this archetype. But it doesn't, but it's still a good card anyway when you're using it, and I've been able to lock out my opponent's plays with things like if I went against Psy-frames, they could do nothing with it. And I think it was Malefics as well that struggled a bit with this when they didn't have their on-field negate effects, which kind of screwed me. So that's it for the main Tribute summon things, and then for the Tribute fodder, I don't actually run the Adia Iodos engine anymore, because essentially, if they get negated, then your turn basically comes to a standstill, so I wanted to try and get to the monsters that are handy as quickly as possible, so I'm going for the 3 Linkslayer for tributing, who just special summons himself inherently if you control no monsters, not once per turn, just to point out, and then he has a soft once per turn effect where you can pitch up to 2 cards to destroy an equal number of spell and traps on the field. Which did help me out in a couple of situations, and I feel as though this format it's good. If you have this in a Pantheism in hand, then you can just bait out your opponent's back row. The other option that you can go with, I don't actually put this in here, but this is just the alternative that you can run, is the Super Quantum Red Layer, which if it's normal or special summon, you can special summon it from your hand if you have no monsters, like with Linkslayer. And then if it's normal or special summon, you get to target a Super Quan card in the graveyard and add it back to the hand, which can include another copy of itself, so you have discard fodder. And considering the fact that these are level 5s, then you can use them for the domain lock as well, potentially. So just something to bear in mind. And then the last monster of the main deck is the 3 Mithra, the Thunder Vassal. This is one of the original ones. So it says that essentially you can summon it along with a token to your opponent's side of the field, and then if it's tributed for a tribute summon, you get to tribute summon another time in that turn if you want to. But it is a hard once per turn for both the summon effect and the tribute summon effect. But this is handy for things like if you wanted to deal with an imperm or a gamma, then you can bait it out. And the imperm just gets locked out because your opponent ends up controlling something. But yeah, essentially something like this in Linkslayer is good for an opening point if you do have an extra means of tributing. I'll show off a couple of combos at the end of the main profile and sort of explain what could be done. And that's it for the monsters. For the spells, so your 3 domain, more or less your main win con of the deck, just when you have a tribute summon monster, your opponent can't summon from the extra deck. Gives your monarchs or whatever it is a boost when they attack, and you get to reduce the level of a level 8 one by 2, which is handy. 3 Pantheism, just, you know, searching for days, just pitch 1, draw 2, banish from grave and get another one from 3 that you reveal. 3 Tenacity, just reveal one of your monarchs and get a monarch spell or trap. Then 3 Stormforth, because non-targeting non-destruction removal is brilliant. 1 March helps out with things like Lightning Storm if you're going first, because it stops your tribute summon stuff from being targeted or destroyed by card effects. 1 return, I'm only running 1 return because I want to try and minimize my bricking as much as possible, but I still end up dealing with it anyway. But yeah, just, you get this turn 1, it's okay, just tribute summon something and then get a search from this. And then the last spell is the one called by the grave, because we hate hand traps. And then for traps, we have the 1 Prime, again, trying to minimize the bricking a bit, so you just use this when you're using it in combination with Pantheism, or using it with either Ether or Erebus. The 1 Erupt, skill drain, except for tribute summon monsters, always handy. And then 2 Escalation of the Monarchs. It's ultimate offerings without paying life points and tribute summoning your opponent's turn. Using this in a Stormforth is great, particularly if you can't use monster effects with things like Ether if you have it in hand. 1 Metaverse is a slight spicy tech. Just your opponent tries to constant cycle in your domain, flip this, you get another one, you're good. And then the last trap of the deck is the 2 Crackdown, which I have been able to use a few times to mess with my opponent and just steal their stuff, and then use it for combo plays, which you can use in combination with Stormforth and Ether. And then that essentially just means you tribute summon during your opponent's turn by using 2 of their monsters as the main tribute fodder. So that's it for the main deck. Side deck is, so this is just like a bit of spice as well. 2 Jinzo. This is just against some like Eldritch when they just set a whole bunch of back row and then they can't do anything when they don't get their Golden Lord. Never did see this, but it's there if you need it. 2 Nibiru for any monster spam decks. Again, I never really saw this. 2 Chalice, I had this as an extra, just a means of monster negate if I needed to deal with a Zeus or something. Then back row hate, 2 Cosmic Cyclone and Feather Duster. I think this is the right ratio with it. And then 3 evenly matched. Might consider taking this out, potentially, because it doesn't seem to be as widely used in the current format, from what I can tell. And I never found a means of putting it in. And then 3 Solemn Judgment. We don't want to be, you know, we don't want our domains to be gone or lose our main monsters, so we just have this as a means of extra protection. So, just a quick thing of good starting hands of certain combos you can do to help your plays. So, like, one example is having these 4 cards in hand. If you're going first, and this is assuming you don't have any kind of interruptions on your opponent's part. So the idea is that you play the domain, use the effective Mithra in your hand, special summon itself, and then a token to your opponent's side. You then use the domain to reduce the levels of one of these 2 in your hand. You then tribute the Mithra, and then let's just say, for example, we go for Thestalos first. You chain link 1, the Thestalos, because that's a mandatory effect, and then chain link 2 Mithra for an extra tribute summon. This then lets you look at your opponent's hand, and then you get to discard a card from it. And then with Mithra you get the additional tribute summon, so you can tribute the Thestalos and then go for the Erebus, because you can tribute it with using 1 tribute summon monster, and then use this effect to send, you know, the appropriate spells, monarch spells or traps from your deck to the graveyard, which will probably be, if you're going first and you don't have these straight away, most likely the Pantheism and the Prime, and then you get to spin a card back, and then that means your opponent is now on 3 cards in their starting point. Which just means that they're restricted a bit more with what they do afterwards. So that's like one example of a kind of a good starting point that you can go with. Another one, like I said, is with Crackdown. Then, once I get it out, Stormforth and an Ether, which is essentially just going like this, where you have these 3 in hand. If you have nothing else that really helps you out, you just set the Stormforth and the Crackdown, go to your opponent's turn, then you flip up the Stormforth, they summon 1 monster, you Crackdown it, they summon another monster, you then use Ether's effect, banishing the Stormforth, tribute the monsters, summon this, and then get your effect off. Just as a couple of examples that you can do with certain plays there. You've got plenty of other things that you can do with the deck, which is, you know, just how it is. But like I said, you do have the thing of either you get a decent hand or you end up with too many bricks and then you end up not doing too well, which is always the risk with Monarchs. But, you know, sometimes it can work. So there we go. And that's it for the main deck profile. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I shall catch you next time for whatever I do next. So long. Take care.